well, in the early days, there were those, little children scrubbing themselves.
So
Yeah, and today you have people using dyes, bleaches to bleach the skin.
The reason why that is it's the music industry. The guys like
when I went to prison, Vibes Cartel.
Yeah,
Completely changed the skin.
but all of that has its roots in the idea of black is inferior and white is superior, and there is no image in history that is more powerful to put that forward than the appearance of the supreme being. That is the ultimate, and that was, you have the history of that, where the slave masters who called themselves Christians had to battle with that, with their consciences. You're enslaving another group of human beings.
It's funny that you're saying that, right? Because under the Saharan slave trade, about 700, Mohammedanism enslaved about 80 million black men. Yeah, and the funny thing is that Muhammad was a white man.
Yeah, no one talks about the Arab slave trade.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because we're talking about the colour. If you read through the books, they said Muhammad was so white, right? And the only thing they always say is about Bilal, the guy that was
Bilal.
Bilal.
He was a black man.
They always fool up the black guys there and say about Bilal, but he was a slave too.
He was a slave of Muhammad. Yeah.
He was a slave. But sorry, Adrian, I just want to pop that in there, because I'm thinking myself, there's so much black guys.
But I mean, the Muslims, there was that slave trade of the Africans, but no one took it to the level of the industrial slave trade that the Europeans did, to the point.
I think the Arab one was worse.
I think the Arab one was worse.
The Arab one was before, and it was longer.
Cutting off
it was longer and everything, but the whole of the Western world has been built pretty much.
If you think about it, in the Arab world, it's still happening now. In Libya. So I would say that.
But 2017, you see.
You know what I mean?
But I'll say this, Adrian. Yeah, maybe I will agree with you that the transatlantic slave trade was worse, in the sense of, I personally, not going off base or what we're talking about, I personally rather be with Hitler and be a Jew and be gassed than watch my mother, my father for 400 years being raped, my dad being buggered by this, because obviously
emasculation, in front of the family.
Willie Lynch and them guys used to sexually do that in front of
and burned alive and lynched and all of these terrible things. But in order to do those things, you have got to, if you call yourself a Christian, which they did in those times, you've got to ameliorate your conscience. So you get someone like Johann Blumenbach, these so-called physicists and everything, to actually give some scientific perception that black people were nearer to the ape than the white man is the ultimate evolution of the most evolved version of humanity, and then you have things like the zoo, the human zoos in New York and everything like that, and you have the experience of people like Otto Benga, this young Congolese boy they took and they put him in that zoo with chimpanzees, and he ended up committing suicide. All of these things happened, and what happened? It created that image. Now people will ask, why do you I did a presentation once, and I remember it was a black person in the audience. Why you have to go about, keep talking about these things? Why we can't just live loving?
I'll give you a joke here. They were talking about reparations. Yeah, there was a guy called Hillary. He's not from Jamaica, but he was saying that you need to come back to the site where, like, the bomb went off and what happened among the people, to see what really happened. And he's saying that it's not the money, but you had so much black people said, no, about time we forget that, but most black people forget. It is in 2015 that
reparations.
2015 they finished paying off the slave masters
the
for
debt.
Emancipation.
For the debt. Remember, they got millions and billions of
20
money.
million in that time. It makes 16 billion.
Remember this. We're not going off base because of it, but remember this year. Me and you were paying that money off. Me and you,
can you imagine?
Me and you are paying that money.
Can you imagine?
We're paying for the enslavement of our ancestors. We're compensating the enslavers.
Yeah, but remember, we're on video and we're not losing sight, because this is what happens. A lot of people get into these topics and lose sight. We're not losing sight. We're saying these issues need to be dealt with. They need to be dealt with. So we're not losing base, and we're not going to. The devil's going to run us off, and we're going to turn into hate campaign and with this and that. We're just saying that these issues need to come up and be dealt with.
There is also a reason why this needs to be addressed as well, because now you have young black people who want nothing to do with Christianity because they say that it is soft colonialism. It was used to colonize the African culture. I mean, before in our previous video, we were talking about COVID and vaccines. In 2020, I'm not going off piste here, but in 2020, the two French doctors said that before the vaccine is tried on Europeans, it needs to be tried on Africans. They had to stand up and apologize. Now, where does that come from? The roots of those sort of things is because of colonization, colonialism over the years, with the different countries that were responsible for colonialism. And the thing is that Christianity is perceived by many out there as a tool of white supremacy. You spoke earlier about Islam, but a lot of people don't even realize that the Islamic world did enslave Africans as well beforehand and for longer. But because of the industrial, huge nature of the transatlantic slave trade, that is the one that is in the minds of these young people out here who won't want anything to do with Christianity because they think Jesus is the symbol of white supremacy. And so they're blocked unless you actually deal with this. They think that the church that you are a part of is irrelevant, and you and me, we are tools of this supremacist ideology. And don't forget, the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan are a Christian organization.
But the thing is that what you haven't said, which you already know, is that the transatlantic slave trade was also run by the Jewish nation. The Jews they would change their name or change their surnames, like Portuguese name, but their names, David, Aaron, used to give them away. And a lot of people don't realise that the papacy was heavily involved in the transatlantic slave trade. And another thing that a lot of people don't understand is that the son of Muhammad is the son of the papacy. If you understand the backdrop of where Islam's coming from, you know that Rome developed the Islamic system, and they were on the crusade for Islam. So the transatlantic slave trade and the Saharan slave trade, Rome's got his hand in the pie in there. And it's the same Rome, as we bring it forward to our days, is the same Rome that is on the climate bill. It's the same Rome that's with what's taking place with the health passports. But a lot of people are not understanding that. But I'm not going to go, we're not coming off the reservation, we're going to stay on the reservation.
And I want to add a point to what you said, because we're talking, obviously, the topic's about white Jesus and...
So I'm not going to come off the reservation.
I'm not going to come off the reservation, but just to add to that point as well. Even when I was growing up, I used to ask my parents, why did God allow black people to be enslaved? Why did he allow colonization? Why did he allow racism? And the obvious answer was, sin. It's because of sin. It's because of sin. But then I look around and I say, okay, well, the Holocaust, you could say that's because of sin, but they got reparations. They got their own country. You look at all these other places.
But those Jews are European Jews.
Of course, we know, the European. But every other person that's gone through their form of persecution or their form of torment, they've been reimbursed. But black people, not only are we still going through it today, but we still have not been reimbursed for the minerals that has been stolen, for the people that have been stolen, for the slave labor, for all of these things. We still have not been... So when I ask them these questions, they say, it's because of sin. From the Christian perspective, to bring it to Christianity now, I feel like the way we respond to race issues, the way we respond to the white supremacy is so fickle, it's so poor, that a black child person like me who's trying to be inquisitive to learn these things will get swayed away because it's like we're not getting the answers that we're looking for. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, you think about this. Yeah.
Well, we don't even. I'm sorry to interrupt. We don't even need. If we say we're trying to get the answers we're looking for, someone could perceive that to be, oh, we're trying to find an answer that suits us. We're trying to find the truth.
The truth, yeah, of course.
And that is what is uncomfortable and unpalatable. But you know, the truth that you're saying, it's even beginning to come up now. There's a chap, he's died now, a white man called Martin Burnell. He wrote a book called Black Athena, which gives evidence that humanity came from
the black woman.
Yeah, but not even there's a, I can't remember this magazine. It's to do with
Adam and Eve.
It's a magazine, but it's a scientific magazine. I can't remember the name of it, right? And it actually tells you that the first man and woman was black.
I've seen that magazine.
Right? But what I wanted to say for Adrian Cup, you know, let me use my bass. And it was only a second baseman, but he had to jump because he's a bit bigger than me. You know, he showed me some pictures when he's a muscle man. But all right, listen, you fly anyway. I'll come back to my point.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this wasn't saying. So this wasn't saying. When you're talking about what took place here, they don't bring up the history of King Leopold.
How much hands.
Belgium.
They don't bring up what took place where the Europeans had the council to rape Africa.
Berlin Conference.
Yeah, Berlin Conference. They don't bring up how France, what they did to Haiti. Yeah, all these things are buried. Yeah, and it's the same thing that happens now. Oh, what are you worrying about it for? If you do not know the past, you cannot know the future. And it's the same when
you can repeat the past.
And that's why, you know, in the other presentation, I spoke about Ezekiel and I talk about the wheels within the wheels. These are the same wheels turning, just in different generations, different times, but yet God's hand still guiding it and protecting. Like, a guy got upset with me because I tried to tell him, look, these things are happening, and God is trying to remind the black man and say, listen, even these things are happening, remember, who carried the cross? Simon. And this guy got mad with me. He got mad with me. I said, listen, man, I'm not into Black Lives Matter because I know George Soros runs it.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying to you, I said to him, Black Lives Matter. And I said, that's why God put Cyrene there to carry the cross. That the black man can look down time, because slavery's coming back. And a lot of people don't realise that slavery, even Pen of Inspiration says that slavery will be back. And you saw some form of slavery, I think in Libya, I think it was 2017, right? You saw it there. They were selling the African man, the black man, not even for a bag of rice. But anyway, you get the ball's back in your
but to bring it back to white Jesus, right? So when it comes to the imagery of Jesus Christ in Christianity,
sorry to cut you. I wish I wasn't hearing that, you know, because this, you know, it brings me back to Emmett Till. What's his name? The guy that
Emmett Till.
Yeah, it brings me back to all these things coming to my mind. Yeah, and I think to myself, well, I don't think I'm gonna be hosting another one of these with you guys, man, because a lot of things come back to my mind that I'm like, wow, there's so much injustice. It's unreal, man.
It's unreal, man.
Yeah, the lynching and all kind of stuff come to my mind. I'm just being real.
Am I allowed to say why I think that's happening? Okay, so I know there's this group called the Black Hebrew Israelites. I'm not in support of the Black Hebrew Israelites in any way. No. But when I look at the prophecies in the Bible of what would occur, what would happen to the Hebrews after Jesus' crucifixion, the curses in Deuteronomy 28, it's undeniable. The only people that fit that description are black people. And when I asked those questions to my parents, why do black people go for this? Why do black people go for that? I had to figure the answer out for myself, because unfortunately, because of sin is not good enough for me personally.
You Seventh-day
The Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay.
So I had to look deeper, and from what I found, and from my studies, from my information I've looked into, it appears to me that history was repeating itself with the transatlantic slave trade, because I believe those people are the children of Israel. Because when you look at the children of Israel, repetitively they went through slavery in Egypt, went through slavery in Babylon. The Syrians came. Every time they disobeyed God, God put them in slavery. So, my personal opinion, the way I understood why black people are going through what they're going through, is because we are the chosen people.
Somebody asked this question.
In the Bible.
What does it matter? And you answer that one there.
What does it matter?
So some people say, okay, it's black people gone through it. And this is a question that's going to come up, right?
Yeah.
That what does it matter? Now I'm asking you, so what, man?
That's honest. Sorry.
Oh, go on then, Mike. Go on, Mike.
I would say your parents are right when they said it's because of sin. But what is needed is, I mean, that is not the incorrect answer. That is the correct umbrella that covers it all. It's just that it needs unpacking to look in there, to actually look at the complexities of it. And what I must say at this point, in case it's perceived that we are, just angry black people going off on one, in the Bible, in Galatians chapter 3 and verse 28, it says there, in Christ, what? There is neither black nor white, male nor female, young, Gentile or Jew. We are all one under Christ. And this is the thing that we must not lose sight of. Satan wants us to be angry with each other because of what we have done, what you have done to me and I have done to you, and so we will become separated. This is what Satan wants. There is one race, and that is the human race. There are different tribes and people groups within that, but what Satan wants is to separate us, and particularly the church, because the church is the thing that's meant to show the world a better way. And if we, instead of influencing the world, we begin to reflect the world, then we fail of our job. And part of that job is presenting that truth, not to put down white folk and to sort of bash them or anything. It's the effect that this thing called racism has and is having on society, and that needs to be brought out. You cannot heal a situation by hiding it and covering it up. You have to deal with it first.
I would also say this as well. I appreciate the concern for other people's that are not blacks' opinion on us engaging in the topic, but me personally, I do not care how white people feel, how any other race feel about.
I think you do need to.
No, as in these are our problems. We should be allowed to discuss our problems as Christians and as black people amongst each other and resolve it. I don't think we should, let's not say this because there's white people listening. I don't think that's good, because what we're doing now is we're stopping the progression of our own people because of how other people will see us. But they're having discussions amongst themselves and they're making moves.
But the complexity.
They don't care about how we think about them. Asians don't care about how black people think.
No, but let me just say this though. Remember this, yeah? On the platform that we are, we see like the same groups that enslave the people, they're using those platforms. As Adrian says, to fight against one another. Like Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter, they use